All right, so get ready to dive deep today because we're tackling neural computing.
Really fascinating stuff.
I know you're all about the cutting edge, and I have to say, after digging into the Tech Talk Nexus episode you sent over, this is about as cutting edge as it gets. We're talking computers that learn like we do.
It's a game changer, no doubt.
So picture this. What if, instead of rigid old-school computer chips, we could build systems that work more like the human brain, with, interconnected neurons and all that?
The fascinating part is we're not just copying the structure. It's about replicating the brain's efficiency.
Right, like how our brains process tons of information using hardly any energy compared to a computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Traditional computers are really inefficient in comparison.
So we're talking about a whole new approach to computing.
Yeah.
And the potential benefits are mind-blowing from what I've read.
One of the biggest advantages is the processing power we could achieve. Data centers, for example, they could become so much more efficient. Some experts even say they could use 90% less energy.
Wow, that would be incredible. But how does it actually work? What can neural computing do that today's tech can't?
Well, take artificial intelligence, for example. AI now is pretty good at following instructions, but it's not very good at making decisions in real time, like we do. Neural computing could change that.
So we're talking about AI that can think on its feet.
Exactly. Imagine self-driving cars that can navigate like humans or robots in factories that learn as they go and adapt to new tasks immediately.
Wow, adaptable robots. This Tech Talk Nexus episode got me thinking about so many things, but there's a lot I don't understand about how it works.
Well, one of the key differences is how it processes information. Traditional computers do things step by step, but neural computing uses parallel processing, more like our brains.
Okay, break that down for me. What's parallel processing?
Okay, so imagine trying to read a book one word at a time. That's how normal computers work. But with parallel processing, it's like seeing the whole page at once. Neural networks process tons of information at the same time, which lets them learn much, much faster than traditional computers.
So it's like upgrading from a horse and buggy to a supersonic jet. No wonder this has people so excited. But with all this talk about super AI, where does that leave us? Is there anything it can't do?
That's a tough one. I mean, it's hard to say what it can't do, but it's definitely already changing things in some amazing ways.
Right. The Tech Talk Nexus episode talked about some really cool stuff that's already happening.
Yeah, like image recognition. You know, those apps that can identify like what kind of plant that is or organize your pictures. That's neural computing.
Oh, wow. So it's not just matching pixels, it's actually understanding the picture.
Exactly. It's really good at recognizing patterns, much better than older algorithms. And speaking of images, the episode also mentioned its potential in medical imaging.
Yeah, that part really caught my attention. They were talking about training these neural networks to, read x-rays and stuff.
Exactly. Imagine training a system on, millions of medical images. It could learn to spot things that even the best doctors might miss.
So we could diagnose diseases earlier, maybe even prevent them. That's incredible.
And it goes even further than that. We could use it to personalize medicine, tailoring treatments to each patient individually.
Okay, now that sounds like something out of Star Trek. How would that even work?
So imagine a system that has all your medical history, your genetics, your lifestyle, everything. And it uses that to figure out your risk for certain diseases and recommend the best treatments.
So it's like having a personal health advisor, but way more advanced. And this isn't limited to healthcare, right? The episode mentioned other fields, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Take finance, for example. Neural networks are already used to detect fraud,
Yeah.
And they can analyze market trends and even give personalized financial advice.
Wow, a financial guru AI. So what you're saying is there's practically no field that won't be affected by this.
That's the big question. The possibilities are just massive. It's hard to imagine any industry that won't be touched by it. But, and this is important, this technology also has its challenges.
Right, because with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. We have to be really careful with how we develop and use this technology. It's not something to be taken lightly.
So we can't just focus on the cool factor. We need to think about the consequences, too.
Yeah, we need to be talking about ethics, involving experts from different fields to make sure it's used for the right reasons.
So it's like we're at a crossroads, and the decisions we make now will decide how this technology shapes the future. This is getting kind of heavy.
It is, but it's also incredibly exciting. We're talking about tech that could potentially solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Okay, that's a good point. So it's not all doom and gloom. There's a real chance for progress here. I mean, the Tech Talk Nexus episode touched on some of that too, right?
It did. Remember those power-hungry data centers? What if we could use neural networks to make energy grids way more efficient?
Oh, okay. So we could actually use AI to help fight climate change.
Exactly. And that's not all. The episode also talked about how researchers are already using this to speed up drug discovery.
Really? Like for what kind of diseases?
Well, they mentioned Alzheimer's, which is a huge deal because it's been so difficult to treat.
Wow, that's incredible. But with all this talk about superpowered AI, it's kind of hard not to think about what could go wrong.
Yeah, I get that. Every new technology has its risks.
Like what about jobs? I mean, if we have robots doing everything, won't that put people out of work? The Tech Talk Nexus episode talked about that a little bit.
Right, and it's something we have to be very aware of. As neural computing changes the job market, we need to focus on retraining and making sure people have the skills they need for these new jobs.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about making sure it benefits everyone.
Exactly. And it's not just jobs either. There's also the issue of privacy. These systems are going to be really good at analyzing data, so we need to be very careful about how that data is used.
It's a lot to think about. Seems like there's a lot of potential for good, but also some risks we need to be aware of.
Absolutely. But I'm hopeful if we're careful, if we have these conversations and involve experts from different fields, I think we can make sure this technology is used for good. Ultimately, it's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used in many different ways.
Well said. It sounds like neural computing is going to be a big part of our future, and it's up to us to shape what that future looks like. So to all our listeners out there, we want to know what you think. What part of this technology excites you the most? Are there any aspects that worry you? Let us know. And until our next deep dive, keep those brains buzzing.